Hi, this is College in Circles, and I'm Jeff. Today, I'm looking at the first of Pathfinder's 2024 miniature sets, the Gods of Lost Omens. Before we get started, I want to ask you to subscribe to this channel. As I reach certain milestones, I will be doing giveaways of various WizKids miniatures, starting with that first milestone of 100 subscribers. Now, when I play Dungeons & Dragons, I make extensive use of my minis. My reviews are based on how well those figures enhance gameplay at my table, how often they are likely to be used, and how much do they add to the game when used. I use a 10-point scale with 0 to 2 points in each of 5 categories. Those categories are details in the sculpt, quality of the paint application, how well the pose of the figure helps tell its story, and how versatile the figure is. Also, how much the figure inspires me to want to create story and gameplay with it. Most figures will get a 1 in each category, with exceptional traits receiving a 2, and traits that miss the mark getting a 0. At my table, I generally treat the figures literally. What the player sees in the figure is what the character sees in the game. Although these figures are made for Pathfinder, I will review them as I would use them for Dungeons & Dragons. Now, of course, these are all my subjective opinions and yours may differ. If you like this content and want to see more, please like, subscribe, and share. With all of that said, here's the figures. Gods of Lost Omens is one of 2 Pathfinder box sets released on January 10th, 2024. It consists of 6 figures and had an MSRP of $49.99. The other set is the Iconic Heroes Box Set 11. Link to that review is in the description below. Our first figure is Gorham, aka our Lord in Iron, and is the god of battle above all other pursuits. Judging by the figure, I would say he is the god of shoulder pads. Seriously, how does he move his arms with those pads above them? The sculpt reminds me of over-the-top 90s comic characters, and I would say it would be much more effective if it was toned down a bit. That being said, the paint job is nice and there are some good details in the sculpt where he appears to have battle damage in his armor. The pose is also somewhat comical, and while I'm sure this figure would appeal to some people, it does not appeal to me. It does offer some versatility as a helmed horror or animated armor. Our next figure is Saranre, the goddess of temperance and patience in all things. She also has a plethora of aliases, including the Dawnflower, the Cleansing Light, and my personal favorite, Sister Cinder. Overall, this figure does look good at a distance. Her face is well painted, and she would make an excellent Aasimar sorceress or Wildfire druid. The pose and color scheme are fun, and she has really good use of transparent plastic for flames. When you start to get into the details, some issues appear, including too much black showing through in areas, a lack of definition in her bare feet, and her hand melts into the torch, which itself has an unnatural curve. Shellen is a figure with quite a figure and several attributes that really stick out. She is the goddess of art, beauty, love, and music, and also goes by the Eternal Rose, the Incorruptible, and the Eternal Maiden, among other names. Her sculpt is the best part of the figure, particularly her long flowing hair and the way her dress opens up over her leg. The paint is a bit of a mess, as her hand appears to be melting into her staff. Also, her face looks like a fresco painting, and I don't believe that was intentional. Our fourth figure is Desna, the creator of the heavens, also known as the Song of the Spheres, the Great Dreamer, Lady Luck, Mother Moon, Queen of the North Star. She has a lot of names. The most prominent feature of this figure is her big, beautiful blue wings. These are honestly the best wings I have ever seen on a humanoid figure. She also has an interesting pose that really shows how relaxed and lighter than air she is. The paint is decent with no serious flaws. Easily the best figure in this set. Up next we have Abadar, the god of cities, law, merchants, and wealth. Other names include God of Walls and Ditches, the Wealthy Father, and the God of the First Vault. This figure is an example of how one detail can completely make or ruin a figure. Depending on how big the screen you're watching this on is, you might not be able to tell what is going on with his hands. He is actually holding a crossbow, but since the crossbow, hands, and chest are all painted with the same gold paint, from a distance it looks like he's just crossing his arms. His cape is quite nice with the interior painted green with the gold trim. I just don't understand how they could put that much effort into the cape and completely miss painting the crossbow. Our final figure is Calistria, the goddess of lust and revenge, also known as the favored sting, the lady in the room, or the unquenchable fire. The sculpt is done well with an interesting use of clear plastic as a see-through skirt, and her pose is suggestive of her character and personality. The paint job, however, is literally all over the place. The paint for her blonde hair is all over her face, and I have no idea what is going on with that left armpit. She is also leaning back to the point where she should be falling backwards. The Gods of Lost Omens is an interesting set that suffers from some poor paint application and a clear preference for the art styles of 90s comics and 80s sword and sorcery TNA movies. In my review of Critical Role's Darlington Brigade, I mentioned that while Critical Role is often cartoonish and appeals to a young audience, Pathfinder is clearly courting the adult crowd. Figures like Eureka, Biting Rose from Fist of the Ruby Phoenix, and now Desna, Calistria, and Shellen appeal to a male gaze. Now, while I may appreciate the contrast these figures offer, they do run the risk of being comically off-putting or just plain uncomfortable to some players. In my opinion, Desna rides this line perfectly and is a figure of a beautiful goddess without being gratuitous. Calistria probably crosses that line, appearing almost as a dominatrix with her lean back further accentuating her chest. And then Eureka is just unacceptable at my table for several reasons. Well, that was my review for the Gods of Lost Omens box set. What are your thoughts on the set or on my review? Leave your comments below. As always, I'm Jeff, and thank you for watching College of Circles. I'll be talking to you in the next video.